I will speak about the responsibilities of the husband towards their wives. So the responsibilities of husbands become automatically the rights of the wives. Point number 1. The husband should respect and be very mindful of the susceptibilities of his wife. He should also protect her honor. Number 2. He should try to be a source of comfort to his wife and behave in a manner that she is convinced that she alone is the center of his love and affection. Appreciate your wife. Number 3, the husband should protect his wife and their children at all costs. Point number 4, the husband should participate in the management of the house by giving a helping hand in the household chores of his spouse, including the raising of their children, which entails that he must not badmouth his wife in front of their children. Point number 5, the husband, should not object to his wife meeting her relatives, provided no mischief is feared from their side. He should also be respectful to them. If he shows respect to them, then in reality, he is showing respect to his own wife. Number 6, he should refrain from keeping a close watch over every movement of his wife as if he had no confidence in her, and thus making her life miserable. In other words, don't micromanage. Point number 7, he should always be disposed to overlook the minor shortcomings of his wife and be generous in forgiving and forgetting. Number 8, he should look after the health of his wife. She is, as a matter of fact, his better half and should never be neglected under any circumstances. Number 9, he should consult his wife in all family matters of importance and handle the situation as decided by mutual consent. Number 10, the husband should display a sense of utmost sympathy if the wife is in some distress or has met with some misfortune. Number 11, husband has to remain loyal to her, meaning his wife, in all circumstances and must not look toward non-mahram women nor befriend them under any guise. Number 12, he should shun every act or word which is likely to displease or agonize his wife. Number 13, the husband should at times take his wife and children for outings and to join them in their happy moments. Number 14, he should take care of her physical needs in compliance with the Sharia of Allah. Number 15, the husband should pay her dowry as soon as possible rather than delaying it. So paying of haq meher should be done at the earliest. If the wife is not asking for it, it doesn't mean that she doesn't want it. So at your earliest, give her the haq meher. Regarding haq meher, let me clarify this point, that inflation does not affect the amount of dowry. The inflation does not affect the amount of haq meher. For example, if somebody got married, let's say 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, and the haq meher they put down at that time was 50,000 Pakistani rupees or Indian rupees or whatever currency. Now 50,000 Pakistani rupees in today's amount, especially here, if you were to compare it against the dollar, is nothing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably maybe around less than $200. So some women are probably of the opinion that 50,000 rupees back then might have meant maybe $10,000. So 50,000 rupees 30, 40 years ago should now be inflation taken into consideration, translated to maybe perhaps $10,000. That's not the case. 50,000 rupees from 30, 40, 50 years ago still mean 50,000 rupees. So if you think that it seems bad, well, it was always on you, on the ladies, to demand your right. You could have asked for this haq meher on day one. If you did not, and you waited 10, 20, 30, 40 years, then the verdict of the Sharia is very clear, that inflation will not affect the amount of haq mahr. Moving forward, point number 16. The husband should not disclose the personal and private matters of his house to others. Sharing the flaws of his wife is a big no. Unfortunately, among some shameless men, there is this habit of sharing the personal and private matters of whatever happens behind closed doors in their bedroom. Things that are of absolutely private in nature are discussed by some shameless men, either among their brothers or their friends or colleagues, and they consider it a form of pride by discussing such things. Allah Ta'ala has mentioned that men and women, husband and wife, are clothing for each other. And the purpose of clothing is to cover the nakedness of one another, not to make each other naked in front of the world. Point number 17. At times there can be issues between the wife and her in-laws if living in a joint family system. Therefore, women have the right to want a separate home, and this should be honored by men where the circumstances allow. Some people say that, we believe in joint family system. Let's say there are 3, 4, 5 brothers, and they all get married and they all want to live together because that's the desire of their parents, to live together in a joint family system. That's not what Islam teaches. Islamic teachings are very clear cut on this issue, that every couple should have their own living arrangements. They should live independently. I already mentioned about the exceptional circumstance where the husband is the only son or maybe perhaps the only child, and the parents are elderly or they rely on their son. In that case, it would be unjust on the part of the wife to say, Islam says that I can have my own independent living arrangements with my husband and children, so let's move away from your parents. They're elderly, they rely on you, forget that. This cannot fly. This is not allowed. And unfortunately, some men are as such, and I don't have the word other than the word shameless to use for them, who forget about the rights of their elderly parents. Now, someone who's living in a joint family system where it's 3, 4 siblings living together and then the elderly parents, then that individual does not need to live in that joint family system. So the exception can only be made where exceptions are allowed by the Sharia. Point number 18. To provide for the household is also a man's responsibility, regardless of the fact that the woman is earning or has her own property. It is wrong to demand that the earning woman or a woman with property should help to provide for household expenses. So, man is supposed to be the breadwinner. It is your responsibility to go out, work hard, earn the bread, make the money, come home, put that money on the hand of your wife, on the palm of your wife, and let her take care of the household. Now, some women have this expectation that because her sister or her cousin or somebody in their neighborhood or someone who she's befriends with has a bigger home, so she has to have a bigger home, if not equal in size. XYZ drives a Mercedes-Benz or BMW or Lincoln or whatever, luxury brand. So she and her husband must have the same brand, if not better. Now this type of mentality where Khalifa Rabi mentioned, to try to keep up with the Jonases, he explained. So this type of mentality destroys the peace and comfort of one's house. When a man is making a certain dollar amount and he can only provide a certain way of lifestyle, but the wife is not satisfied with it, then what does the man do? Either he would be forced to take loans, or which will result in him going into debt, or the other thing which will happen is that he would say, well, in that case, then you have to work as well. Now, when the wife will also end up working, it would definitely become extremely difficult for her to execute her responsibilities which are owed toward her husband and the children and the household. I'm not saying it's impossible, it's doable, but it becomes extremely difficult. Think of it like this. When Holy Prophet ﷺ and Hazrat Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, when they got married, Hazrat Khadija at that time had a fully functional, operational, independent business of her own. So what did she do? She handed over her business to the husband, and then she focused solely on taking care of the household. So we have our role models explained to us by Allah Ta'ala. Hazrat Khadija is our role model. So if the lifestyle is not monitored and managed accordingly, husbands might ask the wives that, okay, in order to provide for a certain lifestyle, you have to work. If she works, she'll get the money. But then comes a lot of baggage with it. Islam says that when women have to go outside, they should do their parda, because they're entering the men's turn. The other issue, of course, will be that she would equally be tired when she comes home and the husband says, okay, what's for dinner? And she will say, well, just like you, I was also working. Now, the dynamics of the house are now shifting. They're changing. They're becoming lopsided. Previously, the husband would work outside, come home, and the wife would take care of the things at home. Now the wife is also working outside. And Islam says, because working outside is extra for her, her primary responsibility is at home. But because she took this extra responsibility, at times she becomes negligent towards her primary responsibility, which was at home. That's the other issue. The third issue that comes with it as a baggage is that if the wife is also working, she's a human being, she gets tired too. Who is taking care of the kids if there are kids involved? Either the in-laws or the daycare. Allah Ta'ala nowhere has said that it is the responsibility to inculcate morals in the children, in your children, by your in-laws or the daycare people. It is the responsibility of the mother of the children, primarily, and in support, the husband. So, keep in check the kind of lifestyle you want. If it is producing a healthy lifestyle at home or destroying the peace and comfort of your household. Point number 19. The husband should provide for all her reasonable needs, the reasonable needs of the wife, and keeping within his means should be disposed to spending in that respect with an open hand. This includes adequate housing, clothing, and sustenance. He should give her some spending/pocket money. Allah the Exalted states that another sign of believers is that they must exercise patience. There are many occasions in life, such as loss in business transaction, theft or burglary, etc., or when the husband finds himself in a financially unstable position and is unable to provide spending money to his wife according to her needs. In such situations, certain women create uproar and cause a ruckus and start fighting with their husbands. They raise their demands to such heights that the husband is unable to meet the financial burden. I am not saying that in every situation it is the husband who is right, whereas the wife is wrong. In certain cases, women are in the right as well. However, I am talking about those women, a majority of whom are demanding. Such situations result in constant conflict, argument, quarrel, and dispute in the household. Or there are situations where, due to the unfair demands, husbands lose their way, and when bickering is going on, they can wrongly become violent towards their wives. Or in order to meet the pressure of undue demands from their wives, some men take on debt, due to which the entire household comes under the grip of a vicious cycle. When the creditors demand their money back, the husband tries to make excuses, and hence a series of lies ensues. When the husband is unable to pay the debts, he gets easily irritated and is harsh towards the children. In turn, children feel extremely disturbed. Such a vicious cycle sets into motion when unnecessary burden is placed on a man and patience is not exercised in face of difficult situations. What eventuates is that children from such households look for comfort outside their homes and slowly disassociate themselves from their parents. This is the root cause that gives rise to social evils, and by the time the parents come to their senses, it is oftentimes too late. Therefore, it is stated that faith will be strengthened only when patience is practiced at all times. Address delivered to ladies on 4th of September 2004 at Jalsa Salana, Switzerland, published in Al-Fazl International, 7th January 2005. Point number 20. In case a marital dispute, the husband should try to resolve the issue with his wife, and if the matter is not resolved, then he should involve an unbiased family member from his side. Number 21. The husband should never cause any sort of harm to his wife and should care for her in all respects. He should also try to keep a peaceful and loving environment at home. Point number 22. He should see that trifles do not lead to a situation in which tempers are lost and threats of divorce and separation are pronounced. Point number 23. The husband should try to be the best friend of his wife. Hazrat Aqdas Masih Maud has mentioned that husband and wife should be like two best friends. Number 24. The husband should not keep secrets from his wife as it would create distrust between them. Point number 25. Do not argue with your wife in front of others, especially your children. Goes to say that you're not allowed to badmouth your wife in front of your children or others as well. Point number 26. The woman cannot be forced into a marriage. Point number 27. The woman has the right to khula, which is divorce initiated by the woman. Point number 28. In case of separation, the wife should forget about her ex and move on as if he is dead to her. This is what Hazrat Aqdas Masih Maud has mentioned, that this is what Islam teaches. Unfortunately, many a times it happens that two individuals decide to call it quits, and several years later they're still going at it against one another. And this is not Islamic behavior. And at times such individuals encourage others to sit and listen to them. That look, this is what I have to share. And any opportunity they may get, they would try to use this opportunity to speak about an individual who is irrelevant to them. Point number 29. The woman has the right to remarry. Number 30. And last but not least, the man should not torture his ex-wife on the account of their children. Wa akhiru dawana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Muhammadur Rasulullah.